The local dailies here in the country in regards to matters, politics, business, and all-round issues here in the country that affect you directly or indirectly. Now, this particular morning, joining me on my immediate right is Wilson Sosion, who is a former legislator as well as the SG of Kenya, former SG of Kenya National Union of Teachers. A very good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning, and good morning our viewers, wherever they are.
Thank you very much for making time.
Thank you.
As well, joining me is Tana River Senator Danson Mungatana. Very good morning to Honorable Mungatana.
Morning, and good morning to all our Kenyans listening to us.
Thank you very much for making time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Well, gentlemen, let's just jump straight into it and have a look at what is making headlines in the local dailies. And of course, the big conversation this particular morning is surrounding the issue of censure motion that you tabled, Honorable Mungatana. But I just want us to avoid that for now because it is, the subject of our conversation this particular morning. This is the issue of Adani. And the CS for Treasury, John Badi, was in the Senate, before the Senate Committee on Transport yesterday, chaired by Senator Karungo Othanga. And he was at pains to expound on, the Adani deal. At some point, the session was so heated that 4 senators walked out, protesting also what the sentiments of the chairperson of that particular committee, that is Senator Karungo Othanga of Kiambu County. But the main issue is surrounding the Adani JKI deal. And just to pinpoint a few issues that were raised, because I was there and I attended that particular session, is that one key concern was, the issue of the process not undergoing competitive process. Because if it was a competitive process, according to the senators, and then we would have gotten a much more better deal and value for money. The other issue was Senator Richard Onyonka said there were 2 other companies that submitted privately initiated proposals, and those companies are GMR and Nexus Logic. But according to CS Mbadi and the PPP Director General, that is Chris Kirigwa, said they only received their Adani proposal. Now, those companies do write to the Kenya Airports Authority. Then if those 2 proposals did not get to the office of the Treasury and the PPP Directorate, then it means someone at KAA must have held on to that particular proposal. So, first of all, beginning with you, Senator Mungatana, I don't know what to make of all that particular saga, because this is a deal that has raised a lot of eyebrows.
Again, good morning, viewers. I feel very sad when I see public officers doing things that after you leave your office, you will sit down and not be able to explain what you are doing when you are defending those proposals. I want to start by saying I have full confidence in the senators who are appearing before the committee. And I know, because we talk about these things, that their complaint is that they feel that the chairman was not giving them enough air to explain what the problem was. And from where I sit, I want Kenyans to know that as chairman of the Pan-African Parliament, this is the Parliament of Africa, where 5 elected members also attend sessions on behalf of the Republic of Kenya, and I head that delegation. So we just came from South Africa on Sunday from one of the sessions, and let me tell you, and the Kenyans listening to me, there was the death of a very famous minister who once held the portfolio of treasury in South Africa, called Pravin Gordhan. His credentials are remarkable. The man chaired the CODESA talks, which gave South Africa independence. The man reformed the South Africa Revenue Services. The man, he did wonders. He served as a minister for this, and even in treasury. But do you know what is being remembered about him, what was being discussed? It is his last stint as Minister for Public Services, public enterprises, in which several important enterprises of government of South Africa, the people of South Africa, were sold without proper public participation. And I remember penning an article on my socials and saying, there is the Adani deal now facing Kenya. And ministers who are there, people who are in charge, do not let your legacy, all the things you have done, be about what you did when you are dealing with Adani. So from where I stand, I have said and I will say it again, let public scrutiny be completely open. Okay. If you did not receive, then explain how the documents were taken to KA and they did not reach Treasury. Explain, because the problem we are having in this administration is opaqueness. And when you are opaque, people are not happy. The people who gave us this responsibility to run this administration, and I'm speaking as a UDA senator, we must be open. And don't defend things. Just say, I'm sorry, I'm going to do it better. That's the way that we should be behaving as public officers. So from where I sit, I saw my Senate colleagues walking out. I saw that they were complaining that they are not being given enough information. I saw them insisting, and I saw the chairman trying to sort of protect the protests that were being made by fellow colleagues. So in terms of way forward, I would request, if you have information about this deal and you are a minister, Senate has called you, or if National Assembly has called you, come out and explain everything. If there are mistakes, what is wrong with saying, we made a mistake here, I'm sorry. Let us repeat this, or let us correct it in this manner. We will listen, nobody is fallible. Okay. That is where I would say about Adani.
Fair enough. Just joining us is Wakili Willis Otieno. Very good morning to you, Advocate.
Good morning, yeah, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to have you this morning.
Thank you very much.
Okay, before I engage you, I want to engage you, Mr. Sosion, on the issue of employees, because at some point you, for a long time, represented teachers who are employees. Now, one of the main issues, a bone of contention, is the issue of what happens to the employees of Kenya Airports Authority, and that is where they were striking, because as it stands, they might lose their jobs once Adani take over the operations of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Now, what is appalling is that CS Mbadi, who was appearing before the Senate committee, said Adani had proposed to absorb a certain percentage of employees, but the PPP committee did want the firm to absorb 100%. But what bothers me the most is that the CS himself, in his own words, said he does not know the percentage that Adani proposed, and he doesn't have to read the entire document to know what it entails. I mean, that paints a picture of the people we have in offices and whether they, really represent and have the interest of Kenyans at heart.
Now, when ownership of any property is changing, the security of workers is always safeguarded, and I think there are enough legislative measures just in case of anything to protect that. But we saw the workers at JKI rise, and they were on strike. And I think their concerns came out quite clearly. But I think what is of key concern first is what Senator Mungatana is stating here. Mm-hmm. Are we doing things in a transparent and accountable manner? I think that should be the question. One, upgrading Jomo Kenyatta International Airport is overdue. It should have been done many years back, because we are not just a communication hub in Africa, we are a global communication hub. If you want to get to anywhere within East and Central Africa and even South or West, you must first land at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Correct. If you want to invest in the East African region, EAC community and the rest, you keep your money in Nairobi. So it goes without saying that JKIA is a major communication hub that must be upgraded. If we are talking about 2 runways, 1 runway, it should be having 2 runways, and it should be one of the busiest with the volume of of movement of goods and people. The projection to have it by 2054 to move at least 30 million passengers is a good one. Now, coupled with Kenya being made a free visa destination, that means we'll be having more visitors. And Jomo Kenyatta is an entry point or an artery that is going to pump life to the economy of this country. And now, expanding it is no question. The only question is who and how. And I think that is what the Senate is putting a lot of pressure on. We've seen the Treasury people appearing at the Senate to answer questions. And Article 10 of the Constitution, principle of governance, and that is particularly that of public participation of the people, was not put in the Constitution for window dressing, to be bypassed and to be defiled by individuals. We've seen cases in this country where public officers choose not to comply with certain sections of the law and the Constitution. They elect which part of the law to follow and which one not to. I was talking about education, for example. 14 years down the line since the new Constitution was enacted and a close provision from Section 64 to 70 of the Basic Education envisages creation of a robust Education Standard and Quality Assurance Council. But the ministers have elected not to implement that. And so, again, within the framework of the Ministry of Transport and the rest, and JKIA, what is so difficult with taking this process through public participation? And that is when we'll know who else had applied and what happened. And if there are concerns being raised now that are also not coming out very clearly, to me, I'm reading business competition and vested interest. Those who feel they should clean the business are waging war from the corners. And the other one seems to be so advantaged and has covered a lot of grounds in securing the deal. But I think all this, it should be done through proper public participation and above board, so that in the end, whoever clinches the deal to manage Jomo Kenyatta International Airport on behalf of Kenyans. And we say on behalf of Kenyans because it's a public property that cannot be given to terms. Senators and members sold to a company called the Railway, and we have never seen what they've done. And we lost the railway infrastructure.
Fair enough. Let me engage Wakili. Now, yesterday, the Azimio faction led by Kalonzo Musyoka were enjoined in the case that sought to put on hold this Adani JK deal that was petition filed by Tony Gashoka and Mount Kenya jurists. And they've been given up to 30th of this month to submit amended petitions. That case is set to be mentioned on 17th of next month. Now, yesterday during those particular sessions, senators also wanted the former CS for transport and all those who were involved before the new team came in, because this is an issue that began before the president fired part of his cabinet and then reappointed others. And the minister then was CS Kipchumba Murkomen. Senators sought to understand and ask whether Murkomen should also appear before this particular committee, because he was the one in charge of this docket and is assumed to be the one who saw this deal and did hold negotiations on behalf of government. From where you sit, because you've also been very vocal in regards to this particular Adani JKI deal, from where you sit, is that the way to go? Because people should be held accountable.
The first point is that Article 10 of our Constitution talks about transparency and accountability as part of the national principles of this nation. And if you look at this Adani deal, as it were, this is a skunk. It is Kenya Kwanza's skunk. And this is meant to be their, what I call, a haste on the people of Kenya. They are coming up with a deal that, in essence, takes away or robs us of our national jewel. Because JKIA is part of what we call, it's a jewel. I mean, it's our pride as a nation. And JKIA does not make any losses to begin with. What everybody agrees is that expanding the airport will be more beneficial to the nation. It is the how they want to do it and the manner in which they are trying to run this Adani process. Why this lack of transparency? Why don't we have accountability? And of course, Murkomen needs to appear to explain the processes that led us to having this PIP, even in the first place. He's the one who was the minister and involved in the preliminary discussions that led us to this. And while at it, he also needs to explain to the people of Kenya why Adani. As it were, if you look at Adani, it's now morphing into a colossus in our economic sphere. If it is not energy, you find it in health, you find it in like this, what they're doing with Safaricom, where they want to put a joint bid with Safaricom. They are in Ketraco. I mean, what is so special about this one company that all of a sudden, and it's only coming through PIP, all of them PPP. When we have a public procurement and asset disposal act, why is it that now when it comes to contracts that are worth more than 10 billion, in fact 100 billion, the designed mode is PPP and not open tendering. And all the ones that we're talking about that are worth of 100 billion, Adani is a common figure. So there must be somebody somewhere in the political administration that is holding brief for Adani. He is now more Adani than Adani himself. And the Kenyan people need to know. And if Murkomen, as a person of interest, having been involved in the initial preliminary conversations, he should appear and explain to Kenyans. And CS Mbadi should not turn to be a chameleon post-appointment. If the Adani deal was good before he was appointed CS, it was bad before he was appointed CS, it's still bad even today after becoming CS. And all he owes to the people of Kenya is his oath of office, which required respect to the rule of law and our constitution. Just be transparent. From what the senators took him through yesterday, it was very clear. The PIP that was presented by Adani itself does not meet the threshold under Section 41 of our Public-Private Act.
Okay.
So it should say, I mean, there are certain documents that are required which were not met. When you talk about casually that Adani says KA will find a way of, they'll share a profit ratio of employees to be onboarded.
Okay.
And he keeps quiet that, oh, we don't know the proportion, the percentage, that no employee will be fired. But the PIP that you are accommodating is very clear. You will agree on the percentage. At that point, if we're being transparent and accountable, that PIP should have been rejected. Because as our position as a people of Kenya is, not even a single employee at KA should ever lose his job when we're expanding the airport. Because if the intention is to expand the airport, what we should be talking is new jobs in that airport.
Okay. We
should not even be having even a single employee. Because if the intention was that we are going to improve it, we are going to expand it.
Okay.
Naturally, you'll expect more people will need to be employed.
Okay, fair enough. Honorable Mungatana, I want to come to you and we cross over to the Daily Nation because on the front page they talk about 720 million jobs fraud suspect who was in Ruto's Germany trip. They say 150,000 is the amount of money that desperate job seekers were paying Vintmark Travel Agencies Limited. That is Mr. Caesar Kingori, who has been on the spot over scamming Kenyans. But more alarming is that he was in Germany with the president, although they say he was not in President Ruto's recent delegation, but he was there. Now, when the president says is looking for opportunities for Kenyans abroad to work there and probably fend for themselves, we have such figures who are spotted in these trips and they've conned or scammed Kenyans millions of money, 720 million. I mean, it paints a picture of, do you trust these opportunities that are being sought abroad? Because if people who are coming Kenyans are part of these agencies that are saying they are taking people abroad or linking people abroad with jobs, and then the entire thing of taking Kenyans abroad to work is sort of put in jeopardy.
Let me just start by the first issue where you said this man was in Germany at the same time as the president Entourage was there. Now, I have been in a lot of international meetings. I have recently finished my term as a commissioner in Commercial Competition Commission. I have told you I am heading the Kenyan delegation to Pan-African Parliament and many other things that I do. There are people who, when they hear that the government is going to be present in Paris for some talks or whatever, they would also fly there. Nothing stops you from getting a visa and going to Paris and then pretend to be part of the government or maybe organize protests against the government, okay? So the presence of that person and the presence of the president's entourage in Germany should not be confused, because there is no place that says in the German embassy that says when the president is going to Finland or Tanzania, no other Kenyan should be given visa for the time that is there. So I think it's unfair to try and correlate the two. But you are right in saying there are several employment bureaus that have not been doing the right thing for Kenyans. And the previous minister of Labor, Bore, started working on this thing. And I'm sure it is something that the new minister who has just taken over would continue with. Now, they were told to file certain requirements within the ministry so that Kenyans who are going to look for work or opportunities abroad will have to go through those registered employment bureaus. So those agencies that I would use this opportunity to tell Kenyans in terms of what they should do. If you have an interest to work outside, please Google or even pay a personal visit to the ones that are registered, okay? Now, the ones that are not registered, you deal with them at your own risk.
Now, what is the government doing to counter such agencies? Because the responsibility of the government is also to protect Kenyans from such fraudsters.
Absolutely, you're right. So when agencies have misbehaved, they are normally the officers, or not the officials of those agencies are normally investigated, arrested, and charged in court. So for me, if indeed this person has been involved in some criminal activities, then it is incumbent upon the agencies, the justice agencies, to go after this man, have him charged and have him arrested and prosecuted. But not only that, but we should also have the asset recovery agency in Kenya also go after his assets or assets associated with him so that they can freeze their accounts if they can get any money. In case there's successful prosecution, at least some people can be refunded their money, because even if they jail him for 20 years and nothing is given to the people, then the victims, they still don't get justice in the sense of justice. So I call upon his arrest and prosecution if he is indeed suspected to be involved in a scam. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I don't want us to continue with the dailies, but time is not really on our side. But among the key issues on the dailies this morning is the strike by university dons, who vowed to continue with their strike until their demands are heard. And one of the things that they want to be addressed, or among the most important things, is the implementation of the 2017-2021 collective bargaining agreement. You can find that on the People Daily as well as the Daily Nation and the Standard. But on this particular note, I just want us to take a brief breather, then we'll be back with the conversation that we're supposed to have this particular morning in regards to the censure motion that was tabled by the Senator Fortuna River is here, Honorable Danson Mungatana, in regards to the conduct of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua amid the what looks like power struggles within the Kenya Kwanza government, which is only 2 years old, with 3 years to go until the next general election. That will be after this short breather. Don't go away.